Hi, I'm Susan Shaner with Sage Leadership Strategies, and I'm your host today of Community Forum. And I have the great pleasure to have with me Skip Wyatt, who is president of Mr. Handyman of Fairfield County, right?
Yes.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, Susan.
Nice to have you.
Good to be here.
So can you give our viewers just an overview of what Mr. Handyman is, and then we'll talk a little bit about how you came to this.
Well, we provide handyman services, as the name would suggest. Means we fix all sorts of things, from small things like hanging pictures to major bathroom remodeling projects to broken things to home maintenance types of things like cleaning gutters and just about anything that has to do with keeping a home in top shape and doing home improvements.
I'm just going to share with our viewers that how I actually met you is I did an energy audit on my home and discovered that there were some opportunities to reduce my heating bill. So you helped me with some insulation and
that's actually one of that's probably our fastest growing segment right now. It's just skyrocketed because of the cost of energy, for one thing, but also because we think we've developed a really good competence for coming in and analyzing homes. And in the state of Connecticut, it's a subsidized service. You're actually paying for it on your energy bill, but it makes it very, very affordable to make your home more energy efficient.
Well, actually, that's why I did it the time I did it, because there was a refund from the state.
Yes.
So it really was a good time to do it in the summer before.
It was good, but it's good all year round, especially now. And now we see more and more people realizing that winter's coming on. We got a break last winter, but this winter coming up could be another tough winter like we had 2 years ago.
Yeah. So what tips would you give homeowners for better winterizing their homes?
The first thing I would say is do what you did, which is get a home energy audit. It's a program that is subsidized. It costs $75, and you learn a lot about your home. You'll find where you have energy loss and what you need to do to prevent it. And even in the audit, there are measures that are performed that will make your home more energy efficient. So that's the first thing.
Well, yeah, so I just want to let people know, so that actually, I just called up, CL&P, and they just came in and did it, even though it was $75, which is really a nominal fee. I think it was like an $800 value, and I found out all this stuff, and they replaced all these bulbs, and they did a lot of stuff that was way above and beyond. So
of course.
It was definitely worth it.
Yeah, definitely worth it. And then you got a report. You got folks who analyzed it and said, we've been able to help you reduce your energy loss significantly in just a 2 or 3 hour visit. But now there's more work to be done. And you mentioned insulation, and so that's the second step, which is to listen to the recommendations and do your homework, and then actually implement some of those recommendations as you see appropriate. Those would be the first things that I would emphasize as tips. And
well, can I just add, I just want to let people know, because so it remains to be seen for me. I'll see this winter, how much my heating bill was actually reduced. But the first month after the audit, my electric bill was almost cut in half. So it paid for itself. Now, I had just done a whole bunch of remodeling last year, so they replaced it with the different bulbs. It could have been just that. It was a bunch of different things that they did. They sealed up stuff. But I just want to put that plug in there because it definitely paid for itself.
Sure. Yeah, we average about 20% just in terms of savings right after the audit, let alone after you go ahead and do the actual upgrades that are recommended. But the other thing I would say, that nothing comes close to getting the energy audit and the upgrades that result from the energy audit. But there's some smart things that every homeowner should do. Go around and check windows and doors to see if you have any air leaks. And if you do, change the weather stripping and caulk and seal in various places.
So these are things people can do themselves?
That's just things you can do yourself. And insulate. Check your insulation in your attic. It should be at least R49. And the way you can test that is by taking a ruler and measuring the depth of the insulation. And usually the R value is about 1 R for every 3 inches. So you want it to be R49. You want to have at least 16 to 17 inches worth of insulation in
So
your
somebody
attic.
can just go up in the attic with themselves
Yep.
with a ruler.
Yep.
So they're there, walking around the attic with a ruler, and they just want to see that it's at least 16 inches.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. And if it's not, you can just add more insulation, and that will prevent heat from escaping from your home into the attic. That's real important because the 2 major goals of any winterization is to keep your home comfortable during the winter without costing you an arm and a leg.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
And the second thing is to prevent ice damming, where the snow melts. If you have a heavy snow, where it melts on your roof and goes down and around the eaves, freezes up, and you get those wonderful looking icicles and so forth that are devastating.
Well,
when they
we saw
melt.
a lot of those 2 winters ago,
Oh, yeah.
all the really bad
Yeah,
storms.
yeah.
So when that happens, what does that mean?
Well, that means that your attic was too warm, and so you had too much heat escaping into your attic, and it wasn't properly ventilated. So when the attic gets warm, then your roof heats up, and the snow that's on your roof
Okay.
melts too quickly, runs down toward the edge, then freezes up, and then you get those ice dams. And those ice dams will melt, and water will get in behind your fascia and behind your walls, and it can do some pretty serious water damage.
So as kids, we always thought that was the best thing because then you could eat the icicles. Obviously, parents don't want that.
No,
Right.
no,
Not a good thing.
They can do some pretty serious damage.
So what else? What are some other tips?
Well, you can look at all of your water pipes, and you can put piping insulation on the water pipes, and that prevents them from freezing.
That's a good tip, actually. They suggested I do that with my energy audit. So my husband and I went out and we did it ourselves. Well, I shouldn't say that. He did most of it.
Yeah, good.
He did it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't do
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But really, it was just a question of going to Home Depot or Lowe's and then cutting it and just wrapping it around.
Sure.
So that was easy.
That's easy enough. Yep.
Yeah.
So those would be the major things that I would recommend. Every homeowner should do that. But again, nothing even comes close to getting the energy audit.
Yeah.
And it's really, I hate to call it a no-brainer, but when you think about what you pay versus what you get, as you
Yeah.
pointed out, $800 worth of services for $75, and sounds too good to be true. And that's one of the things we encounter when we talk to folks that are thinking about it. Gosh, what's the catch? Well, there really isn't a catch.
I
You're
know.
actually paying for it because on your monthly utility bill, you're paying into the Connecticut Energy Efficiency Fund, and that's what's used to cover the cost of energy audits and provide rebates to customers who upgrade their home.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is a no-brainer. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no reason why folks shouldn't do it. But then the second step, as you said, is then you can decide what are the recommendations you want to do, and some of them are things you can do yourself.
Yep.
Or hire a contractor to do.
Sure. Yep.
So Mr. Handyman, I know it's a franchise, right? And
Yes.
you bought the franchise for Fairfield County, or
For Fairfield County and parts of Westchester and pretty much greater Fairfield County area.
yeah. So the other thing that I want to explore a little bit with you is because this is really like a second career for you.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk a little bit about being an entrepreneur, being a small business owner, and you had this whole very long, successful corporate career before you did this. You were a sales and marketing executive at IBM.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us a little bit about, you just give a brief overview of what you did, but your transition coming out of retirement and doing this, and why you're doing this, and how you're finding it.
Well, let's see. I started at IBM in 1972 as a salesman and did a lot of great, interesting jobs, moved around 5 or 6 times, and was a sales executive in charge of about a 16,000 person sales organization worldwide at one time, and did a number of corporate re-engineering projects, did a whole series of very exciting product on the product side of the business, marketing for our mainframe division. Mm-hmm. So those were all fun and challenging experiences, and at some point, I got to a stage where I thought, I think I've done about as much as I can do in a corporate life, and I think I'd like to start a second career at some point, and I took a few years off to kind of play a little golf and regroup and kind of recharge the batteries. And what I decided, I didn't want to go back into corporate life. I thought, I've always felt entrepreneurial even in IBM.
Yeah.
But the idea of starting a business and owning a business and not having a boss and not having to go to meetings and presentations and those sorts of things was pretty appealing. So we looked around and thought about it. At the time, my son-in-law who was also working for IBM at the time, had always wanted to own his own business. His dad had been an entrepreneur, and he felt compelled to get out on his own. So the game plan was I would put up the money, and he would run the business, and I would just kind of give him.
Good deal for him.
Give him father-in-lawly advice from time to time, and that worked for a while. And then we decided to change the play a little bit, and I took over and I ran
maybe I'll help out a little bit.
Well,
I've got an investment here.
It seemed that he was using a lot more of the money than the advice. So I think at some point we thought it was in our best interest for him to go and pursue some other things, and I took over, and that was about 4 or 5 years ago, and I've been running it ever since. We started it from nothing. We had no customers. We had one employee, one Mr. Handyman van.
So when you bought the franchise, what did you buy? The model, the methodology, or the brand, the name?
The model was important because if you do the research says that the failure rate of franchises is much lower than folks who start up independently because they have a business model, they have some technology, they have some peer network, which I think is what we found to be the most valuable thing, is just to have other people you can call who are doing the exact same thing you're doing.
But in another geography.
But in other geographies. And so those are things that were really kind of the appealing aspect of someone who's never owned a business and never started a business. This gave us a little bit of a leap forward that we might not have had otherwise. Once you get more stable, you basically have the privilege of giving them a piece of your action, and you don't need all of that as much as you did when you first started. But we started it from scratch, and we've grown it from 0 customers to about 14,000 customers, and
how many years?
In going on 9 years. And we
That's
now
great.
have 30 employees, 32 last time I checked.
So how do you source your experts, your handymen? Where do you find them?
Word of mouth helps, but we also use Craigslist.
Really?
We'll run an ad on Craigslist. We'll get about 40 responses. We weed out about 30 of them and talk to 10 of them, and eventually we'll bring in someone to interview for an opening. And we've been very fortunate to attract some really top-notch talent that way.
Because, with contractors, I mean, there's good and there's bad contractors. So how do you vet them?
Well, the first thing we do is see if they're compatible with our business philosophy. And we ask questions, and we get to know them a little better. Of course, everybody says they're great and wonderful, and they've got all these terrific skills. But basically, we then have to put them out, to put them to the test. We'll team them up with some of our other technicians who we have some confidence.
So they don't just go right out on a job by themselves?
Not by themselves. We'll team them up for about a week or two, and then we monitor customer satisfaction very closely. We get feedback from customers on just about every job that we do. And that gives us good information about the quality of the work and how well they're interacting with our customers, which really is kind of the key difference between what we try to do and what I would say maybe a contractor might do. Our business is built on repeat business, and so the customer relationship is essential. And so someone might be a really skilled craftsman, might be a great carpenter, but if they don't know how to listen to customers and interact with customers, it really won't be a very good fit for us.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't pay me to say this. I'm volunteering this. One thing I will say is because I did use you guys, and I'm a very tough customer. As you, it's okay. I can say that.
I would say exacting.
Exacting. Yes, I'm an exacting customer. And that's what struck me is that you are very customer service oriented.
Thank you.
I mean, your guys that came out, they mentioned things that they didn't have to mention, and they kind of went above and beyond. And I was really paranoid because I had just come off of a really botched home renovation that cost me $31,000 worth of damage. Thank God most of it was covered by insurance. But so I was really paranoid. So I was like grilling them at first.
Sure.
So I'm just saying that is one thing that really impressed me. So,
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we're learning more and more every day, every year about the importance of servicing customers. It's really what has enabled us to almost double our business through the recession. We've been able to do really, really well because of the quality of our technicians and because of a really kind of an uncompromising approach to trying to make sure that customers are happy with the work.
Well, what have you been finding in the recession? I mean, everybody's saying that obviously there aren't a lot of houses moving, so people are trying to fix up what they have. Is that part of it? You're finding that people, after a couple of years, they just want to get their houses in order, or?
Our business, I won't say is recession-proof at all because we tend to get a lot more business when homes are being sold and bought, because people, if you sell a house, you want to fix it up to get a best price, or if you're about to sell it, the people who are buying it want you to fix everything and so forth. So in a strong real estate market, our business has really thrived. But then when we found that when the real estate declined, there were people who still were going to keep their homes, but they wanted them to be either more energy efficient or more comfortable, or they wanted to fix it up. And so really it came down to just being better than the other guy. If we did a good job for our customers and they had a need, they would give us a call and we would get the work.
So let me ask you this. So you left the corporate world with all the resources and the budgets, and even though you were always entrepreneurial, you still have kind of that safety net of having all those resources. What was it like then going out on your own, which it sounds like it was pretty much a startup, but you had the business model?
Yes.
So what was that transition like for you as a business person?
First of all, the experience of working in a corporate world was helpful in bringing a corporate discipline to something that really, if you dealt with contractors,
Yeah, I do.
is not that disciplined and not that professional, frankly.
Yeah.
So bringing that background to the business, I found to be helpful. Also, because I was involved in marketing, that was a good background to have, because you have to make the phones ring.
Right.
And so understanding a little bit about marketing was useful. The biggest difference, probably the best way to illustrate it, was when I decided we needed a logo for one type of our business. We were going to create a certain stationery to send out a direct mail piece. And we talked about it and said, yep, let's do that. Let's get that done. Now in IBM, I would have had a meeting, brought in the marketing folks.
Yeah.
We would have sat in a room, someone would have been tasked, and then within a few days, someone would have come back into my conference room with 4 or 5 examples of what we were going to do, and a game plan and a budget, and I would have selected what we were going to do, and boom, they would have been out and executed.
Yeah.
They would have come back with periodic reports. But in my business, when I looked around to see who was going to design that, who was going to design it, who was going to get the budget together, it was me.
Right.
So that was the big thing, was the kind of the rude awakening that you
Yeah.
really don't have
Can't look anywhere
those
else.
resources. It's you. And so if you have great ideas, you have to try to execute them within the constraints of what you and your team has the time and energy and money to do, because at the end of the day, that money is coming out of your pocket if you don't have a good way of generating enough profit to cover it.
Yeah, so I guess one could say more opportunities to be creative since you're more resource constrained.
It is. You can be extremely creative. And the other flip side, which I always really enjoy, is that when you're in a big company and you decide this is the right thing to do, let's do this, let's go do this, well, then you've got to go convince the guys in Asia, and you got to convince the legal department, and you got to get finance on board. And so that decision cycle is elongated by not only weeks, sometimes it could be glacial in terms of how long it takes to get things done. Now, companies like IBM move much faster than they might have done in the past, but with us, it's like, boom, we make a decision, we do it. You know, it's nothing stops us from executing what we want to do. Now, sometimes that's not so good because you can make mistakes a lot faster that way. But it is fun to be able to make a decision and see the impact of it almost immediately.
Yeah. What have been some of your greatest challenges or mistakes or things that you thought, maybe we shouldn't have done that?
Boy, let's see. Well, I think probably the biggest challenge in just about any business is people. And hiring the right people and deciding whether or not they're right for the business. And then when you really make that decision to let them go. We have 30 some odd folks now. We have, I think the number's like 26, 27 technicians. We've probably hired about 120.
Oh, wow.
To get to that number.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, that's over 9 years, and so,
Right.
so you do go through a lot of folks. We've had folks that have been with us for 7 years, but we've had some that were with us for 7 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
you're like, not a good fit.
It's not a good fit.
Yeah.
And so those can be stressful, and they're time consuming, and they're costly. But you have to do that in order to build the kind of team that you need. So I think those are some of the challenges, is just putting the best possible team we can on the field to serve our customers. That probably is what keeps me awake. Yeah, obviously you have to worry about the finances and making sure you have enough money in the bank to cover all of your obligations and those sorts of things. But I think that would be the big thing. Some of the big mistakes, marketing, you know, the people call on me all the time with the next great marketing idea.
Yeah.
And, you know, spend your money on this, spend your money on that. And there's an old saw that says that we know that 50% of the money we spend on marketing is wasted.
Yeah.
We just don't know which 50%.
Yeah, right, right. So have you guys done a lot with social media?
We're just kind of on the edges of it. We have a Facebook page, and we work that territory a little bit. But I would say, on a scale from 1 to 10, we're probably 1.2.
Oh, okay, okay.
We really haven't really leveraged it very much. We do get an awful lot of our business from the internet and from our website and from a lot of our
I think I might have found
web.
you guys. I think it was through Angie's List or something.
Angie's List has been very powerful for us, largely because we have been fortunate enough to get really, really good reviews. Our customers very kind, and we're an Angie's List Super Service Award winner, which goes to the top 5% in any given category. And that's important to us.
That's based on the reviews?
Based on the reviews,
Okay.
yeah. And so you can't really fake that. If you have great customers and you do a good job for them and they are kind enough to go online and report the results, then you get A's and B's. And we have, unfortunately, a few D's and F's. But fortunately, we have a lot more A's than anything else. And Angie's List is powerful, as are the good reviews on Google and so forth. And so we pride ourselves on the customer commitment. Probably has more to do with our success. We source, north of 80% of our business from repeat customers and referrals. And those customers do such wonderful things for us by recommending us to other people that they've used. And it's very gratifying to see a business grow from your first customer who tried you out because they saw an ad or something, and get to a stage now where we bring in 30 new customers a week and do 80 jobs a week.
Yeah, I mean that's impressive. So give me a snapshot of where you want to take it. Where do you want to take the business?
We envision this business, particularly our energy business, growing at a compound growth rate of plus 30% per year. And we think we've got enough management judgment and an infrastructure that'll enable it to grow at that rate. We envision adding some different core services over time. Things like maybe we'll have a home IT service.
Oh, wow.
So if you're at home and you're having problems with your computer, maybe that's something we'll do. Maybe we'll add maid services.
Oh, really?
So when you think about what we envision with a customer base that's growing at a rate of 30 or 40 new customers every week, we at some point will have over 20 to 25,000 customers. And it's great that we can do what we do for them, but if we can add more services, then it enables us to leverage the relationship and provide what we think is our caliber of services to other disciplines.
So other services, not just handyman around the house, but handyman around your computer, around keeping your house clean, so things that have to do with being in the home.
Being in the home.
That's great. So we've got one more minute. So I'm wondering, what advice would you give for a budding entrepreneur, either somebody who doesn't have a lot of business experience or somebody who's trying to make the transition from the corporate world? Like, what's a key lessons learned for you?
I think you've got to go into it with a lot of passion, and you can't be risk averse. It is a high stakes, high risk venture. If you're willing to make the commitment to it and stick with it, and it's not about hard work. I mean, everybody works hard.
Yeah.
But it's really about not panicking, not letting it deter you from your vision, and that takes just an awful lot of persistence and guts. I think that so the advice I would say is do your homework. Mm-hmm. Pick something that you really feel like you can get excited about the business and deliver value, and pick good people to help you, and don't be afraid to ask for help. And if you always be looking for someone who's doing it better than you are or differently than you are, so you can get good ideas.
Okay, great. Thanks, Skip. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Okay.
It's been great.
Thank you. I'm Susan Shaner with Community Forum. Until next time, thanks for joining us.